All right, well, I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at our second Southwest ISD Town Hall. I'm Janice Hernandez, Director of Communications, and I have several guests with me tonight that are going to help provide our families with some answers on the 2020-2021 school year. So to start, I want to start off by introducing our panelists today. First, we have our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Lloyd Verstuff. We have our Executive Director of Administration, Adrian Ramirez. We have our Director of Health Services, Valerie Maldonado. We have our Executive Director of Elementary Curriculum, Belia Terrazas, and our Executive Director of Secondary Curriculum, Elena Aragon. We also have with us our Director of Transportation, Manuel Tamayo. We have our Director of Social and Emotional Development, Dr. Aubrey Hogan. We have our Extracurricular Activities, Fine Arts Director, Executive Director, Richard Flores, and our Athletics Director, Coach Peter Wagner. And to talk to us a little bit about child nutrition is our Director of Child Nutrition Services, Winston Gatlin. And to start, we are going to go ahead and, I'm forgetting one more panelist, Director of Guidance and Counseling, Luis Gonzalez. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce our Superintendent of Schools with opening remarks.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you, Ms. Hernandez. And before we begin, I just want to thank this group for taking the time to be on this town hall, provide information. And we know that our families and our community, we know that you want information, and we want to put information together and make sure our families have it. I just want to reiterate, as I did during the first town hall, is that we're in an unprecedented time where information changes. It used to be week to week, and now it's day to day. And I think in the last few days it's been hour to hour. So we're trying to be very patient in how we get information, how we package that out to our parents and to our families. About decisions that you need to make in the forthcoming weeks. And so we've been very patient and we've been very methodical. And tonight you're going to receive information around our information website that we have sent out. We titled it, Your Choice, Our Commitment, because that's as we go into the 2021 school year, what we're trying to do is to make sure that we're addressing to the best of our ability the choices that our parents, our children, and our families are making about what education looks like during the pandemic and how we get through the pandemic and what it looks like when we get into the spring of 2021. And so we're in this together. And I can promise you, you're going to get frustrated at times. I can promise you we get frustrated at times in dealing with this in our individual capacity, in our professional capacity. We're in a tough time. But one thing I can promise our communities, you can count that we're going to come back the next day, and we're going to keep taking information, and we're going to keep putting that information, make the best choices we can. We're not going to be mistake-free, but we're going to work with our community. We're going to work with our Board of Trustees, and we're going to put our students and our staff and our faculty in the best possible position moving forward. You're going to get a lot of information tonight, and at 5 p.m. this evening, Mr. Campos went live, and I know sent out on social media what our 5-point plan, reentry plan looks like. I'm going to cover a few things before I turn it over to Mr. Campos. One thing that we do know for sure right now is that we are going to start school on August 24th. I'm extremely confident that 99% of our students will start the 2021 school year in a remote capacity. And then we have a plan. We haven't presented it to our board because we're working with Metro Health, Dr. Wu, trying to get, there's a new color-coded using metrics about when you're in the red zone, the yellow zone, or the green zone, and how you can ramp up or phase in those families and students who are choosing face-to-face. So I just want you to know we're not at that point yet. My understanding is Metro Health is going to release that instrument tomorrow, so we don't even have access to it yet. And then we work collaboratively with a group of other surrounding school districts and with our health experts in our local area and our local leaders, and also get guidance from our state leaders and throughout the nation, and using entities like CDC and mental health. And so we're extrapolating information from all over the place, but we're very confident that we can present our plan tonight and kind of go through that. And we will not answer every one of your questions this evening, but at least we have a really good start into saying this is where we want our families to go to get their information. We have it in English and Spanish, and Mr. Campos will go through that. And there are some questions that we want to hear from our families. If you're ready to make a choice, because you're going to choose for your child whether they stay in remote, everyone's starting remote, but whether they stay in remote when that time comes to start ramping in face-to-face opportunities, because a parent can choose to stay in remote for the full year too. And you will have an option, you'll hear this later on, that you can switch from one module to the next module at the grading period. And so you'll hear more about that information. So let us get into this. We're not ready to say exactly what it'll look like at the beginning of the year, because right now, if anyone's telling you that, it's probably going to change next week. We're still working with mental health, our health experts. And if one thing you can count on us, we're going to lean into the science of this. And there's a lot of noise from all over. And we're just trying to do what's right for our staff, for our students, and for our families. And so at this point, I also want to mention that we wanted to make this session more engaging. So throughout the session, we're going to have access to the questions that you are putting I believe, onto the YouTube site. And then we'll be able to extrapolate some of those questions and answer them in real time. And so let me turn it either over back to Ms. Hernandez or Mr. Campos, and we'll get started in covering what was released today. And then I'll come back at the end to do a closing. Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you, Dr. Verstoff. And I'd like to introduce Roger Campos. He's our web and digital media coordinator. And he has an exciting announcement. We do have a website ready and prepared for our families with information on the new school year. And with that, I'm going to leave it with Mr. Campos.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am actually going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see what I see and let you be able to view our website. So give me 1 second, please. Safari. You hang on with me 1 second. Of course, you know, technology. Okay. Actually, Janice, you know, can you give me 1 second, please, on that? Can you, I'm having a little issue here.
Absolutely. Well, what we're going to do is we're actually going to, are we able to move with the Prezi, Roger?
Yeah, I'm having an issue here. Give me a second. Sorry.
No worries.
So I can talk a little bit about the plan overall, why Roger's bringing up his website. And I see it's coming up right now. So the areas that we really categorized that we thought were important for our families was going to school or working remote, in the areas prevention, incident reporting, learning options that we know is a very important one for our families, to really understand what the difference is between a remote module and a in-class module, and what those two things kind of mean. And then there's a blended module for secondary students that you're going to hear from our curriculum folks as well. Supporting our students, which is always extremely important to us in the school district, and there's a lot of information. And as you go into the website and you click on an area, you'll have a lot of drop-down menus that if you're interested in transportation, what are the expectations in transportation, what support is available in transportation, in meal distribution. So there's a number of different things that you can drop down and have information about. And then our contingency plan. The one thing I can almost promise our families, when and if we do get to the face-to-face, we highly expect to have to deal with COVID exposures. And so there's a plan for that. And I think we benefit from having, I think, the best health director in San Antonio employed in our district, who's going to walk us through that. What does that look like? What does contact tracing look like? Or what are our first actions if we have a student or a staff member with symptoms? So we want to make sure we walk through all that with you. And so Roger, I think you're ready.
Yes, I'm ready now. Sorry. Yeah, you know, these things, we have issues every once in a while, but we work through them. So here we go. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us this evening. What I'm going to do is just walk you through the website, and then as our panelists go through, they will go more into depth to show you what it is our 5-point plan is. So as we visit the front of the website, you will see that there is a huge banner that will let us access the website. This banner will also be available on the campus websites. And as well, we have pushed this out on our social media and on our Remind. So you should have got hopefully a text message with the link to the website. So as we click on our site, you will then see that we have a whole bunch of information for you. Information regarding the 5-point plan, what the COVID overview is, and of course, what your choice will, a form for you to fill out what your choice will be for the upcoming school year. So as we go through, I just want to go ahead and touch on a few things. Of course, like I said, the first thing that you'll see is our parent choice form and our learning expectations. So if you just want to know just the basic information as to what your school day is going to look like, this is the place where you want to start. For right now, I am going to go ahead and skip this part and just move down just a little bit, and that way we can go through some of the bullet points for the website. The first thing that we have is our COVID-19 overview. If we click on that, you can then see we do have some information regarding what our work has been regarding the COVID-19 website and how we got through this and worked with a task force that had different areas of the district, and they helped to put this site together with me. So as I go through this, you will then see we do have our 5 points. The 5 points that we do cover are prevention, incident reporting, learning options, supporting students, and our contingency plan. We also do have an area that is open now for frequently asked questions. These are the questions that we do pull from our town halls that are being put into the chat, emails that are being sent to our administration. We kind of pull these into some of the most frequently asked questions, as the title indicates, and we then answer those for you as well. This is an ever-growing website. As we do state, these things change from the weekly to the daily. So as we get new information, we will then update the website accordingly. Once we go through the site, you can see we have different points of plans. Our prevention part also shows what our safety and health practices are going to be for the district. We have lots of information here regarding things such as our PPE equipment, which includes things like our face coverings and masks, our hygiene practices such as hand washing, and links to the videos from the CDC on best practices as to wash your hands. We also have other options on here that you can then click on. Each one is things like how to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, social distancing, how we're going to set up our workspaces and classrooms, student arrival and dismissal, that includes drop-off and pickup, our bus protocols, which we will get into more as far as our transportation is how we're going to provide our services, and so on, including things such as our cafeteria meals and deliveries that we will then be providing during the first 9 weeks. The next thing that we do have is our incident reporting area. The incident reporting area is what's going to happen when someone does show symptoms of COVID-19, whether it be a student or a staff member. From there, we can click on each button and we can see that we do have a flow chart for each student for how we're going to handle the students and how we're going to handle our staff. So you can look through these to see what our decision-making process is going to be. Next, we have our learning options. This is a broad overview of what our learning options are going to be, from on-campus learning to our remote learning option, and how you can make your choice. So we have more information for you on this, but this is our broad overview as to what we are looking for the decision that you're going to make for your child. Now, if you already know what your decision is going to be, we can then just go straight down and ready to make your choice, and then you can access our form. However, if you do need more information, which I'm sure we all do, so you can make an informed decision, we can then click on a banner and then it will take us to our Parents' Choice page. The Parents' Choice page, excuse me, our Parents' Choice page will then provide us with even more information, including things like our on-campus learning expectations. We can click on that and we can see what our student expectations are going to be, as well as our parent expectations for remote learning is going to be. Additionally, we have the same thing for our remote learning, student expectations and parent expectations. What we expect from both on both options, what you should be able to expect from us on both options. Sample elementary, middle school, and high school schedules, so that way you can see what your child's day will look like. These are samples, these aren't set in stone, but these are what you might expect throughout the day. It will be a structured learning environment, a little bit different than what we saw in the spring. We also have our information regarding our attendance and grading policy, how we're going to be grading throughout the year, and then CTE programs of study and our new student registration information. If you are new to Southwest ISD, we have a link here for you to go ahead and send to do your enrollment to get your child within the system. If you're ready to go and you're ready to make your choice, we then have a banner here for you to click on, and that will take you to our form that will then allow you to do that to make your choice. As I go through some more, the two other points that we do have is our supporting students information, which then gives us information regarding our special education students, our extracurricular activities, fine arts reopening procedures, our child nutrition meal plan, busing and transportation information, and our technology access information. And then lastly, as far as the 5-point plan is our contingency plan, which is that if we do have to close all schools as mandated by the city or the state, we will go to a 100% remote instruction, and we have that information there for you. Lastly, before we move on, we also want to let you know that our information is available in Spanish. So we do have a language button at the top of our website. When you click this button, it will then pull down our translator, and you can click on Spanish. And what it will do is that it will re-translate our website into Spanish and provide you the information that you need in the language that you prefer. You click on each part and it will then retranslate, and then you will be able to see the information you need in Spanish, as well as if you hover over, it will show the original text in English. So in case you need to go back and forth. Okay. And at this time, this is where we're at as far as the website goes. Once again, the information will be changing as we get different directives and different information. We are trying to be very fluid with the website. So please check back often and let us know if you have any questions. That's pretty much my part. We're going to get more deeper into this information with our rest of our panelists. I'm going to hand this over to Janice, and we'll continue from there.
Thank you, Roger. I'm going to allow Roger, give him some time to pull up the Prezi that we are about to present. So all of our leaders are here, and they are going to give you detailed information as far as what the upcoming school year looks like. So when you go through this presentation, the first part of our town hall series was kind of an overall look, but today's town hall is going to be more detailed as far as these different areas and will apply to all the students at Southwest ISD and the parents. So kind of looking at that throughout the next couple of months and what we can expect to see with our planning. So I want to go ahead and we'll start the presentation, and I'm going to have Adrian Ramirez start off.
Good evening, everyone. I know Roger shared some information with you about new student registration, and I'd like to share some additional information with you about that. We do have new student registration dates that have been scheduled for next week, Wednesday, August 12th and Thursday, August 13th. Now, we do encourage parents to utilize our online registration link to register, and that link can be found on our district website. We do know that sometimes there are cases when a paper registration may need to be completed, or maybe a parent just prefers to do a paper registration. And if that's the case, these paper registration packets may be picked up on the scheduled registration dates that you see here on this screen. And if once they're picked up, then parents can then utilize the school's curbside registration process. For questions, if parents have questions about registration or assistance with the online registration process, then they are asked to contact the child's home campus. Now, one question that has come up deals with students who were in our system last year. If they were enrolled last year in our district, what do we have to do anything this year? And the answer is that students who were enrolled in our district last year will roll over to this particular school year. So registration, a complete registration or new registration is not necessary. Now, regarding student attendance, we have established attendance procedures for both remote and on-campus learners. These have been developed, and these procedures actually include students being present for instruction and learning, students meeting daily trackable engagement requirements, and also students meeting the 90% rule regarding student attendance. Now, I know you got a little bit of information about students being able to choose which learning mode, and so our attendance procedures actually provide students the opportunity to change learning modes and to be able to go from remote learning to campus learning, or from campus learning to remote learning at the end of each grading cycle. So while initially they may choose one learning mode, they'll have an opportunity at each grading cycle to make a change. Regarding Meet the Teacher events, we do have campuses that have scheduled Meet the Teacher events and other events actually, but Meet the Teacher events are scheduled for the week of the 18th, I believe, or the 17th, I believe. Elementary has their schedule for Thursday, August 20th. Middle schools, the 18th and 19th of that week. And high school prep days are actually scheduled for the entire week of August 10th, with CAS STEMs being scheduled on August, or for the week of August 17th. Now, schools may schedule additional beginning of the year events for their particular students. And these events include dates and times actually for technology or device pickup. I know one question that's been asked is, what about Chromebooks? What's the process, or how do we get Chromebooks for our children? And so our campuses will be scheduling dates for those technology and device pickups, for technology and device pickup, and we'll communicate those dates and the procedures for picking up devices. That information will be coming to you from our home campuses. We do ask that parents refer to their school's website or to contact their child's school for any additional information about scheduled events, or just to even share concerns about maybe things like internet access. We do encourage you to reach out to your child's school. Thank you.
All right, good evening. This is Valerie Maltonato, the Director of Health Services for Southwest ISD, and I will be talking to you today about our safety measures that we have put into place to ensure a safe environment for our staff and our students. So of course, we're going to make sure that we implement very strict cleaning protocols. We're going to clean and disinfect those frequently touched surfaces, those highly touched surfaces, to make sure that they are as free of germs as possible. We're going to be doing that daily on our campuses and on our school buses as well. And our campuses and buses will also undergo a deep cleaning regularly using EPA approved disinfectants. And we have victory sprayers that we have ordered for our campuses and for our buses to ensure that this happens in a timely manner. So we are definitely working hard to keep our campuses and our buses clean and disinfected. We have hand sanitizer on all of our campuses, in our high traffic areas and in our classrooms. And those hand sanitizers will be used by our students and our staff. We will make sure that we provide training in regard to hand washing. We want to encourage the practice of good hand hygiene, because that is a very simple but very, very effective preventive measure in regard to germs and keeping germs away. So we want to make sure that we are doing a really good job of that. We're also going to ensure that we encourage, teach, and have signage up in our campuses and regarding respiratory etiquette, which means covering your coughs and your sneezes. We are going to provide PPE, face coverings, masks, face shields, gloves, so that way we can utilize those in our classes. And again, make sure that we do our best in providing that safe environment for all. Facilities and maintenance is definitely looking at our ventilation system to ensure that our ventilation systems work appropriately, because we know that that's important during this time. We're also going to implement our social distancing in our classrooms and in our campuses. And here you can actually see an example of classes that have socially distanced desks. And this is a sample, but again, it gives you an idea of what that is going to look like in our schools. Finally, we also want to ensure that we have some protocols in place when and if we do have a staff or student come into our campuses who has COVID-19 symptoms or who calls us and tells us they have a positive COVID-19 test result. So this actually lets you know, it's a flowchart that is available on our website, and it lets you know exactly the steps that we will take. If your child is at home and experiencing symptoms, if your child is at school and experiencing symptoms, it tells you what to do. It also goes through the return to school criteria that has to be met before the student or staff member can return. Additionally, it also explains and describes what to do if your child has tested positive for COVID-19 but isn't experiencing symptoms. And it'll go through that scenario as well. And please do go to our website and look at this, because it is a lot of information and it tells you exactly what you need to know in that regard. As you can see, we also have our COVID-19 symptoms on this chart, and we also have our COVID-19 exposure guidelines that, again, goes through the criteria in regard to close contact and what an exposure means, and then the steps that we will take when that happens. At the bottom, you will see those are steps that we would take when we do have a COVID positive case on our campus. We are going to notify Metropolitan Health District and work with them to determine our next steps. We are going to determine the last date that student was physically present, because we want to make sure that we act appropriately and we notify those students who were close contacts. And we also notify just in general our school community of when there is a lab positive case on our campus. Yes, but we have to also make sure that we keep confidentiality intact as well. And it tells you the cleaning steps that we will take, as well as the other steps that we will take to make sure that we have a safe environment for our staff and our students.
This is for Veli and Zeline.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Southwest ISD parents and families. This is Velia Terrazas. I'm the Executive Director for Elementary Curriculum. I would like to start off by assuring parents and families that we have planned extensively to ensure that all students experience the same high level of teaching and learning opportunities in both an on-campus and remote setting, so that learning is engaging, interactive, and grade level appropriate. We'd like to assure parents that through our planning, our beginning of the year schedule will allow for students and teachers to get to know one another and adjust to daily routines for online learning. We've also adapted our plans to allow for flexible time in the daily schedules to provide students with multiple opportunities to engage and direct teach with their teachers and their peers. We have also taken into consideration the quick transition that happened in the spring. Therefore, we have planned so that students can be assessed at the beginning of the year to determine individualized learning needs to best adapt teaching and learning for high quality daily lessons. In addition, we have established guidelines to track student engagement and attendance so that students engage in daily learning.
Good evening. My name is Elena Aragon. I'm the Executive Director of Secondary. So just as Mrs. Terrazas was mentioning about the extensive work that has been done, we had a group of teachers work with our curriculum department to really look at that online teaching, to really make sure that the previous TEKS that were covered in the previous grade level would be reinforced in the child's current grade level. In addition, we've also looked at the daily lesson plans. Teachers are going to be working to make sure that the lesson plans meet the needs of our learners that are going to be remote, and then also our learners that are going to be at home. Just like we would receive in traditional years with our progress reports, teachers are still going to be providing those progress reports to parents and guardians. And also we will still have training for students. We'll provide that support if they do need that support from home, and also for parents.
So hello once again. I am going to go ahead and cover what you might expect a daily the life of a student in elementary to look like, what that journey would look like. So we are going to show you, as Mr. Campos had previously shown, that these are posted on our website. You'll find some sample schedules of what a day in the life of a student might look like. These sample schedules, as I mentioned, can be found on the district website, and they do have color codes, a key for color codes at the bottom of each schedule. So you can look at those further in detail, but I wanted to just go over what some of that planning entailed. So students that are participating in an on-campus learning and remote learning environment will be enrolled with a homeroom teacher. I know that is one of the questions that has come in already. How will our students be assigned to a teacher? So all students will be assigned to a homeroom teacher, and they will know who that teacher is going to be prior to attending their Meet the Teacher night. We also want to ensure that parents know that our daily lessons are going to be taught by expert teachers in every subject. Students that are going to be participating in on-campus learning are going to follow the regular 8:10 to 3:40 bell schedule that is posted on the district website. For those students that are participating in remote learning at all grade levels will also have opportunities for direct instruction and support from teachers throughout the day. Students participating in remote learning at all grade levels will have opportunities to also make sure that they have access to all their extracurricular classes, such as fine arts, STEM, PE, all of those classes that they normally have in an on-campus setting. Students participating in an on-campus learning, attendance will be taken by their homeroom teachers at the official reporting time. And students participating in remote learning are also going to be taking attendance, and they will be tracked through engagement activities that will be provided as well. For remote learning students, they will have full access, as I mentioned, to all the extracurricular classes. For those students that are participating on campus, the teachers are going to be the ones that are going to be transitioning between the classes. So that way we can minimize the amount of movement that is going to be happening between those classes. And just final note, just to assure all parents and families again, that regardless of what learning platform you decide for your child, all students will engage in approximately a full day of academic content every day that is aligned to the rigor and expectations of the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Thank you.
So next, we're going to look at middle school and high school schedules. The first middle school schedule that you're looking at is for the first 2 weeks of instruction. Students, to help with the transition for the beginning of year, middle school students will be starting each day with second period. If you notice, it is an alternating A day, B day, with the 7-period day divided in half. So on A day, you'll see that students will be attending first period then their second period, then their advisory third, and their enrichment intervention period. On B days, again, they start with that second period to be consistent all days. Then they move into their fourth, fifth, advisory, sixth, and seventh period. So this is really going to help, especially with our incoming sixth graders, to really acclimate them to what middle school will be like when we know it's remote. Starting September 8th, we will transition into a first through seventh period schedule for remote learners and also for students that are going to be on campus. So regardless of which learning mode that you choose, you'll follow the same bell schedule. We also have some breaks included for remote learners to make sure that they are taking that break throughout the day. Also, we did want to emphasize that regardless of which learning mode you choose, also students are going to be engaging in a full day of academic content. Now, to help with minimizing transitions, the core teachers, which are our ELAR, math, science, and social studies, they will be rotating into the classes and students will remain in that class. But for electives, we all know that electives are specialized and do have some of the specialized equipment. The students will be going to their elective classes following the campus and safety protocols that the campuses had set in place. So again, this is what the 2-week schedule will look like. Once they transition, we start September the 8th. Both will start a first through seventh period. The next schedule you see is our CASTEM High School. They're also following a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Friday, all classes will be taken. Students will be attending all classes. In addition, we also know that our remote learners, we are encouraging them to go ahead and to follow the 9:15 of 425 class. It's really important, parents, if your students are taking the dual credit classes, that they do attend during those designated times. We know that attendance is very crucial and that instruction with their dual credit instructor is very important. So please ensure that the students are attending during those designated times. We also have an opportunity for our high school students. From 8:30 to about 9 o'clock, we do have an opportunity for students who are opting, once September 8th comes along, they are opting to go ahead and to stay home, to be remote. There will be an opportunity before school, before our on-campus learners arrive. If they choose, they could attend on campus for tutoring or any of the CTE hands-on classes. They definitely can take advantage of that time. Again, it is optional, it is not required. Looking at the Southwest High School and the Southwest Legacy blended learning, we also have that 8 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. time, and this is also optional for our remote learners. If they need that construction welding lab time, they are welcome to come onto campus. They will be in smaller groups and they can work with the instructor. Then they would go ahead and they would be transported home. And then we would go ahead and start with our daily schedule. And it is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split and also a Tuesday, Thursday split. We are recommending that they do follow the 9:30 to 425 schedule. And it's really important, again, for those dual credit classes that they are logging on at those designated times. We do have also suggested breaks built in for those remote learners. And so this is what their schedule would look like throughout the year. Regardless if you are choosing a remote or if you are actually on campus for on-campus learning, you will follow the same schedule.
Good evening. First, I'd like to just thank a lot of our parents that participated in a special education survey that went out to parents a few weeks back. The information that we were able to obtain from the survey itself was extremely helpful in helping us to come up with some different options for our parents. Additionally, a lot of parents have reached out to us by phone and have really shared their stories with us as to what this like over the past few months, which again have really been information that's helped us to kind of drive some of the decisions that we're looking at. And so as we kind of go through this process and really look at some of the options, what special ed has really considered is really a kind of a phase-in system. And so looking at the 3 phases that we are looking at moving forward is really phase 1 would actually start next week. And so starting August, our office will begin special education testing again. These are previously requested testing in the springtime that we were not able to get to, of course, due to closure. And so we will start that process next week. Keep in mind that when we start that process, there'll definitely be some new procedures in place that are going to help us with mitigation in terms of COVID. And so we do actually have a COVID response manual that is up on the website that will give some information to that. In phase 2, we are going to have 2 things at play. One is, of course, we will have our virtual platform up like everyone else. But the other thing we are looking to do, really based on the responses from our families, is we are going to be looking at bringing in a very small group of students starting on August 24th. And these are students that require life skills training. And we're going to be looking at some very narrowed pieces of training that we feel that if we were to bring a small group of students onto the campuses, that we could start working on some of those pieces that would be easy to do if we had smaller groups and in a very reduced time frame in the day. So the kids that would be brought in during this time frame are going to be coming in on a reduced schedule, so like a half-day type program. Again, we're really working out a lot of those details, but this group would be very small, like I mentioned, and our cohorts would be no more than 4 to 5 students that we would be looking at in those students that we would be bringing in. And then in our phase 3, which would begin in September, we will then kind of realign with what the district is doing across the board and start again doing a gradual transition moving into that. And so in these phases, what I will tell you is that there's a lot of questions that I know parents are going to have that I want to be able to give an appropriate time in being able to answer those questions. And so we actually will be having a special ed town hall meeting next week on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And during that time, we will really go over kind of the details of these phases through phase 1, 2, and 3, so that you can see the process that we would be looking to implement. In that town hall meeting, we will spend a great deal of time really talking about the individual needs of the students that we know that we have, and some of the ways that we'll be able to support them through a virtual platform and also through face-to-face. And so being able to do that, a lot of what we're going to do next Wednesday is kind of do a lot of take you through that process of what would a face-to-face instruction look like in terms of some of the individual pieces that we could put in place, and the same thing for virtual. So this is just a basic overview, but I really do hope that next Wednesday we'll have a great turnout of our special ed parents so that we can be very present and answer a lot of the questions that I know a lot of you have, and be supportive to some of the pieces that you would like to see in play.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Flores, and I'll be speaking on behalf of the Fine Arts. So for our Fine Arts students, they're going to have the opportunity to be engaged in on-campus extracurricular activities, whether they are in remote learning or on-campus learning. So those students, our district has been able to provide a transportation plan that will allow our virtual learners to participate at the high school level in the morning before school begins. And then once that organization's rehearsal is over, then a bus would be able to take them home. Likewise, in the afternoon for our high school students and also our middle school students, there would be a bus run that would bring our virtual learners that are a part of fine arts and athletics and bring them to campus so that they can participate with their group for after school rehearsal. And then parents would pick them up at the end of the day or the end of the rehearsal. So we are very excited that our students will have the opportunity to be a part of their organization, regardless of whether they've selected remote learning or on-campus learning. In addition to that, we are going to be delivering a high-quality curriculum in fine arts, delivering the TEKS, whether they've selected remote or on campus. So we're very excited about that, and we're very excited about our students being a part of that. In addition, our elementary students will be staying put in their homeroom classes while their specials teachers rotate among the classrooms to eliminate the students having to move among the campus. Our middle school and high school students will have the opportunity to leave their classroom and go to their fine arts class and participate as they normally do when everyone is face-to-face. So I hope those questions or those answers some of your questions along the way, and I'll be monitoring the chat in case there are more questions. Thank you.
Coach Wagner?
Peter, I think you have to unmute.
Darn it. Hello, everybody. My name's Peter Wagner. I'm the athletic director at Southwest ISD. So I want to cover a few very important things with sports when it comes to athletics, both at the middle school and high school levels. The first thing is that we will start on September the 8th when we begin the face-to-face learning that gets going. Number two is when everybody does come back, that we will A, require masks, and B, require that all of our kids bring their own water for obvious purposes. We'll definitely, if they forget, we'll have a backup plan for that, but we will require that they bring their own water and things so that we can make sure that that is safe. Number two is obviously, as Mr. Flores has already said, regardless whether they come to face-to-face or they are remote, they will be able to participate in all of our athletics that we offer. We will provide transportation in the morning to go back home if they're a remote learner, or in the afternoon to bring them to practice. Parents in the morning will be responsible for bringing them to practice. We'll get them home in the morning, and then they'll be responsible for picking them up in the afternoon practices. What that looks like for a high school kid, if a kid is playing football, soccer, basketball, and volleyball, and they're in JV or varsity, they're going to have a first period athletics period. And so they will practice in the morning. They'll take care of all of their things that have to do with athletics, and then they'll hop on a bus either at 9:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or at 10:45 on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They'll be able to go home after their athletics period. For freshmen, we will send a bus to go get them at about 1:30, and then we'll bring them to school for their practices, for their athletic periods, and things of that nature, and then parents will need to pick them up. With the middle schools, they will still continue to practice in the afternoon like they always have. If they're a remote learner, as Mr. Flores said, we will go and pick them up around 1:30. They'll get there towards the end of school, and they'll be able to go through their practice, and then parents will be responsible for picking them up. My last very important point is that all student athletes, if you played last year, you need to have your medical history form you can find them online on your online forms. Your medical history form needs to be filled out. And if you are a sixth grader if you're a seventh grader, or you're going to be a seventh grader, you have to get a physical at your doctor before you can participate in any athletics. Okay, if you did not play last year at any level, you also need to get a physical, and it has to be on file with your coordinator and your trainers before you will be able to participate. Look forward to any questions, and I'll be happy to answer any as we move forward. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Actually, up next, we have nutrition.
Good evening, Southwest ISD community. I'm Winston Gatlin, Child Nutrition Director. Child Nutrition will be serving students meals during the period of August 24th through September 4th, when all students will be learning remotely. The meal distribution times will be 10:30 to noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday's meals will be distributed on Monday, and Thursday's meals will be distributed on Wednesday. Curbside pickup locations will be at all elementaries and also include Resnick Middle School. We will be having 8 satellite sites throughout the school district to distribute meals to all students. We'll be using secondary schools to prepare those meals, but we'll be serving them at Camino Creek Mobile Home Park, Canyon Crossing Neighborhood, Crestwood Mobile Home Park, Esperanza Apartments, McDonough Lacoste Old Church, Ridgecrest Mobile Home Park, Rosemont and Miller's Pond Apartments, and Rosemont and Palo Alto Apartments. Child Nutrition will be serving meals at the start of school under the National School Lunch Program and can only serve meals to Southwest ISD students. Breakfast and lunch meals are now free for all Southwest ISD students. All Southwest ISD schools are CEP now. Parents will be allowed to pick up meals without student being present, but must provide student's full name and ID number, plus one form of identification, which could be a Southwest ISD meal registration form, a student birth certificate, student report card, student progress report, or student ID card.
Mr. Tamayo?
Good evening. My name is Mr. Tamayo, the Director of the Transportation Department. We've been working diligently to develop a plan to ensure the safety of our students and our drivers. We want to assure parents that we will be taking the following daily precautions to clean and disinfect our school buses. Drivers and students will be use hand sanitizer upon boarding the bus. EPA and FDA approved cleaning supplies will be used after each run. Seat belts and harnesses will be wiped down after each run. Drivers will provide a mask for students that do not have a mask. Windows will be slightly down during runs to allow for the airflow, mitigating the spread of COVID-19. All buses will be cleaned after each run. Drop-off times may be delayed up to 15 minutes. In addition, we have the following. Students will be socially distanced on a regular bus when feasible. Siblings may sit together from the same household. All students will have assigned seats. Driver and students will be required to wear masks during the route. Field trips per TEA will not be allowed except for UIO competitions. Parents, if you're choosing face-to-face instructions and you're requesting transportation, please do not forget to indicate on the parent choice form that you would need transportation. And also, parents, we're in the need of your assistance with reinforcing the message with your students that it's very important to wear the mask throughout the bus route. Elementary parents, we ask if you can have your students practice wearing this mask for 20-30 minutes before they ride the bus after September 8th. In doing so, the driver can concentrate on driving safely and efficiently. We want to minimize the practice of having the driver to remind students to keep their mask on throughout the bus route. All bus information will be available on the district website after August 19, 2020. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Southwest community. My name's Luis Gonzalez, and I'm the Director of Counseling for the district. Southwest ISD recognizes the importance of our students' academics, but we also recognize and acknowledge their social and emotional needs, especially during the reopening of our schools and through this whole school closure. With this, we want students and parents to know that your campus counselors and social workers will be available regardless of your choice. We want this support to look as similar as possible in both remote or on-campus learning. The district has purchased a support program that has a component for social emotional learning that can and will be used both remotely and on-campus learning, with a focus on self and social awareness, self-management, and responsible decision-making. Building our students' character traits is crucial in building their resilience, and we are committed to providing classroom guidance and sessions through the student schedule. We will also continue to offer the request form to talk to a counselor or social worker through the campus and the district websites. We will follow the same safety protocols of spatial distancing and wearing masks during a possible one-on-one or small group counseling sessions when on-campus learning has been chosen. Before we move on this presentation, and we move it on to somebody else, I'd like you to just take a second for all of us to just take a little time, take a second to breathe in and breathe out. Remember that breathing is key and helpful in as we go and we have all these questions, and so that we can answer, we can feel and come back hopefully soon. And we can't wait to welcome our students. So thank you.
Thank you so much to our panelists, and that concludes the presentation. However, we are going to stick around because we are receiving questions from our community. So we have a few more minutes, and we are going to answer some of those questions that we're getting through the Zoom and YouTube channel. So let's see here. We have a question for Ms. Terrazas. And the question is, when will we have our child assigned to a teacher? And will they use the Remind app to communicate classroom instructions?
Yes, hello everyone. So yes, the homeroom teachers, as I mentioned earlier, will be assigned prior to your Meet the Teacher night. So by that time, you should be already able to either meet them virtually, as Mr. Ramirez had mentioned, or you should be able to meet them through the curbside that some of the campuses are doing. We also intend to keep using the Remind app, as well as all of the social media sites for the campuses and the district websites and campus websites to make sure that we are putting out any type of communication in different ways.
Thank you, Ms. Terrazas. Next question is for Mr. Ramirez. How do we handle registration of new students, and what do I do if my child is going to middle school after being in elementary last year?
Students who are enrolled in our district the previous year will roll over to the current school year. So their information just moves over from last year to this year and should already be in the system. If a parent has questions about whether or not a child's information has rolled over or their enrollment has rolled over, they can contact the school and they'll be able to let them know, but they should be in the system already.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Next question is from Mr. Flores. How will fine arts classes work? How do students participate in band, choir, theater, etc., if they are doing remote learning?
So they will be exposed to all of the same instruction that you will see in a face-to-face environment. They will be seeing that through the assignments and the type of things that they're doing online. Of course, those students are also invited to be a part, and they are going to have the opportunity to also rehearse with their group before or after school, depending on whether they're middle school or high school. And to point out, to answer a few of the people's questions, we think that when they're with that smaller group, that's going to be a much less, risky a moment for them. So that way, if you have concerns about not sending your student to school, and that's why you chose online or online learning, this will give them an opportunity to still connect with their group and still connect with the other students, but in a smaller atmosphere that is going to be very, very well controlled.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. The next question could be for Ms. Aragon or Coach Wagner. My son chose his high school electives in the 8th grade last year, including athletics. Where do we go to find out where we are with that?
Yes, so right now the high school campuses are working long hours to make sure that the master schedule and schedules do get done. So definitely, if you just reach out to the high school campuses for more information, but they are doing their best to make sure that they resolve the conflicts within schedules and students have a schedule, full schedule, 1st through 7th periods. 1st through 7th, because we did transition. Traditionally, the high schools were on a 5-period day last year, and now we are moving into a 7-period day for the high schools.
Thank you, Ms. Aragon. The next question is for Ms. Maldonado. What is screening and temperature checks going to look like?
So because this is a team effort, we are asking that parents screen their children for COVID-19 symptoms prior to coming to school. We want to make sure anyone who is experiencing symptoms stays home. And then we ask that they contact the school. Upon entry into our campuses and into our facilities, temperatures will be checked. So we know that that's not the only symptom, but we know that this is also another measure put into place to, again, just help mitigate the spread of COVID-19.
Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. Next question again is for Ms. Aragon. Will the students be in their homeroom class all day, or will the students be switching periods during face-to-face learning, or will the teachers be switching classrooms?
Yes, it's definitely going to depend on what level. For middle schools, the math, ELAR, science, social studies teachers are going to be rotating through students. Or electives, and students will go to their elective classes. For high school, they will follow the bell schedule, so they will be moving and teachers will stay in the class.
Thank you, Ms. Aragon. The next question is for Ms. Terrazas. When remote learning, are children required to log in or do their assignments on or by a certain time every day?
Good question. So we are going to allow students to work on what's called an asynchronous platform. And that means that students will have the flexibility to be able to complete their assignments on their own time for that day. So we will have live recordings and sessions of daily teaching that are going to be happening. Students can always access those recordings later on, but in order to be able to track attendance as engagement for that day, we are going to ask that those be submitted by 11:59 at the end of that day, but we are allowing that flexibility so that parents, when they come home from work, they're able to support their student in any type of instruction that they needed or questions that they had.
Thank you, Ms. Terrazas. The next question is for Mr. Flores. How will the elective classes work if we are choosing remote learning? How will I know if my student will have those elective choices that they choose?
Well, as Ms. Aragon said, the schedules, the master schedule and so forth is getting finalized. And so the student schedules will be out very soon. And they would have to check with their campus as far as their what electives they did receive on their schedule. Can you repeat the first part of the question again, Janice?
No, I gotta find it, Richard.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
They basically wanted to know how would they find whether or not their elective was chosen, and where would they go to select the elective? That was
right. So those choices were done in the spring. And so hopefully their primary choice was put in as part of the schedule once that scheduling process is completed.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. The next question is for Dr. Verstuff. Will you reduce class sizes in half when school starts?
Yeah, so want our parents to understand that everything that you've heard tonight has applied PPE and social distancing, and that goes into our classroom. And so it determines how large that classroom is. And if we can keep students 7 to 9 feet apart in the classrooms, we definitely will reduce the number of students in those classrooms when we get to that part. And I really want parents to understand that everything you heard about transportation and all the other things that you've heard about that really reference a face-to-face environment, we're starting full remote, with the exception of the group of students that Ms. Hogan is speaking about, our special education students who could benefit from having an opportunity to be in a classroom right now. And so we're going to work with that categories of students and those students, but everyone else is going to stay remote. And so when our parents, when you go on and you're ready to make your choice, that I know that Mr. Campos referenced, if you're ready to make your choice, if you choose that you want your child to go face-to-face, that's telling us that as soon as that opportunity comes up in the future, as we ramp into that version, that's the option that you want. Just so everyone knows, everyone's going to be remote in the beginning. But when we get to that, yes, we are going to reduce the size of the number of students in a classroom, make sure we can social distance.
Thank you, Dr. Verstov. The next question is for Mr. Ramirez. Will Meet the Teacher be face-to-face or virtual?
Meet the Teacher will be virtual. Okay, there won't be any Meet the Teacher events happening in the buildings or on campus. They'll be virtual or online. So.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. And we're going to wrap up our last question with, and this is for Ms. Maldonado. How are we submitting updated child vaccine records, or how are they going to be handled, and how do we get them submitted?
That is actually a great question, Janice. So we know that there are no waivers in regard to immunizations. Immunizations are still required for the 2020-2021 school year. So those can be submitted if our parents have a parent self-serve account, they can upload them through that. They can also fax them to their campus, and they can contact their nurse to make an appointment to drop any shot record off, or even the front office. So there are definitely ways for parents to get shot records to us, and we appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maldonado. And I want to thank all our panelists for joining us tonight. I also want to thank all the community members that have tuned in. We hope that we were able to answer many questions for you. We have collected all the questions from the chat rooms, and we will be putting together an FAQ to help answer those questions. We will also be scheduling a Spanish town hall next week as well, to provide this information in Spanish. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Please visit our website. We have a lot of plans on the website and a lot of details on the next school year. Thank you again so much. Good night.